What's up, guys? Welcome to Press Pass Live. That's right, your weekly OMFL podcast show for the OMFL. Thank you so much for tuning in. This show is coming to you a couple of days late. We've had a really busy weekend. There's just been a lot of stuff going on. And yeah, it's just been a hard time to help get everything done that we had to get done. So I am your commissioner, Nate. Thanks very much for tuning in. And as always, I've got my two buddies. The whole crew is back today. Dawson and D. Wayne. Fellas, thanks for joining me on a Wednesday night. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. How are y'all?
Man, it's a good night. I ain't got no complaints. I'm glad to be here.
It is a good night. Well, look, I know we've got a game coming up, so we're going to lose our buddy here in just a second. So let's hop into it really quick. We are in Week 15. Let's talk about Weeks 13 and 14. Give me your best game from Week 13 or 14. And as you guys talk, I'm going to scroll through and show some scores here.
Go ahead, Dawson. I'll let you handle it first.
All right. I guess I wouldn't say the best game of the week, but it's one of the interesting games of the week. We'll go with the Ravens and Broncos back in Week 14. Broncos ended up winning the game 30-16, so it was a 2-point possession or two possession game. It's kind of interesting because both teams are already out of playoff contention, but they're still fighting for playing out the season. So I mean, hats off to them to still grinding it. I know Jay Glaze with the Broncos. I think last year he went like 1-15 or 2-14, something like that. He got the number 1 pick, but he's a lot tougher than what his record is. I can contest to that since we play twice a season. And then I played Ravens. Mike, I believe that's his name, or Mackey. But when he first joined the league, and he was pretty tough. He's just trying to still learn his team out. And looking over the stats of the game, there was turnovers for both sides. But the Ravens had more turnovers, and that's always a downfall for any team. Ravens ended up with 3 turnovers, or had 3 turnovers compared to the 1 for Broncos. Not really sure what gave the Broncos the edge. Most likely those turnovers. But it's really tough to win a game if you trying to force the ball in those little small gaps when you're trying to read the passes or trying to throw it before you get the quarterback sacked. But looking over his passing stats, he had a pretty balanced passing attack. He had his leading receiver was a Dominic Carney, which is a rookie. He had 88 receiving yards off of 4 receptions, so that's pretty good stats for a rookie. I guess a rookie in NFL. But then you got Jay Glaze. If he ever can figure out that front 7 on defense, he would have a pretty legit elite team. Because he's got the offensive pieces together. He got McCaffrey early in the season, and then he drafted that 6'6" receiver Gilbert Nixon, and each game that I played against him, I can't stop him. I mean, I spotlight him the whole game. I still can't stop him. So I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, but I take pointers from anybody. So yeah, I would say this was to me was one of the interesting games of Week 14, and like I said, Broncos. He's progressing up. He's 4-10 right now, so I want to say he doubled his win total from last year. So hey, hats off to him on that.
Yeah, he's really had a much better season this year. Go ahead, D-Wayne.
No, like y'all were saying, Glaze. Doubling your win total and playing in that tough division he is, that's nothing to look down on. I had to go back to Week 13. I had to look at a game that really stuck out to me. Week 13 and Week 14 both had some really big playoff implicated games. One that really stuck out to me just because of the diversity of stats on both sides. You have one team who played really good defense and caused turnovers. You have one team that just could not be stopped on the ground, and it just hit ahead, and one team came out on top, and that is the Eagles-Chargers game for Week 13. I go back and look at this game, and I think I watched this one in person, and it was just a game of two tails to the story on this one. You had the Eagles coming in here. They only had 33 yards passing. They had 145 yards rushing, which is solid. You got to have a good running game when you're on it throwing for 33 yards. He had only 11% third down, percentage. He just didn't do nothing very, other than run the ball. He didn't do anything offensively. But he had a +3 turnover differential in this game. In a game that the Chargers won 31-24, and to be a -3 in the turnovers for Chargers and +3 for the Eagles, you wouldn't quite think this would be the way the score turns out until you look at the Chargers side of the ball. He had 165 yards passing, which is kind of what I expect with Dawson. He's not an aired out guy, but 280 yards rushing. And he was talking about taking notes from somebody. I think the whole league could take notes from 280 yards rushing. That's crazy. Yeah, that wins games. I mean, that offsets 3 turnovers. If you can run the ball that efficiently, he was 58% on third down, and like I said, we did state he was -3 in the turnover differential. But like I said, man, when you got Franklin running 25 carries for 232 yards and 3 touchdowns, you got Kamara coming off, giving him a break on almost 50 yards on 7 carries. Man, those are just somebody like me, that's dream stats. That's you just dominated the game from start to finish running the ball. And I'd hate to see if Dobbs didn't throw those 3 interceptions, what that game really looks like.
Yeah.
You just go through a few stats here. You look at Cam Newton had a horrible game. 6 for 19, 77 yards. If I'm not mistaken, he got hurt towards the end of this game, which was a big difference. At the end of it, when you go from Newton to Zinger, it's a huge difference. I mean, and you look at Gordon. He ran the ball well. Gordon, McLean, Newton even had a 22-yard run, ran solid. If I'm not mistaken, and Dawson, you can vouch for this. I think Foster got hurt in this game too.
Both of them had big runs too, 50 yards each.
Yeah, they both
Foster, he got hurt like the last series in the fourth quarter, so he wasn't playing majority of the game though.
And that says a lot for Dawson. We all know how good Foster is. Foster's been a dominant receiver now, and to hold him on 1 catch for 11 yards, even though he did get hurt in the fourth, it says a lot. And like Nate says, you tell him he had 2 running backs of 49 yards. For what it looks like to me is the Chargers really shut down the running game on that side of the ball, and except for 2 long runs. And I can't speak for the Charger. He had one run. He had a 68-yard run, but 232 yards, I don't care how you get it. That's just a lot of yards. But this game just really stuck out to me because you got the Eagles who are fighting for, in the NFC, fighting for their playoff lives and fighting to get that division lead on a tough Giants team. And when you take a loss like this, man, this is a devastating loss, a game that you should win. You have a turnover differential in your favor. And, as we all know, Ziploc, he usually has a very, very good defense, and the Chargers just tore it apart today. And you got a Chargers team who's playing for their lives in the AFC as well, trying to stay in the race in that AFC West division and trying to keep themselves in position to maybe they can snag a wild card spot at the very least. And games like this are games that, I'm sure Dawson was excited to pull out. And these are the games you have to win to put yourself in position to be a playoff team.
Yep, I agree with you. Just a couple of things that I'll throw in there is like we're talking about the game that Dawson was talking about. I'm a big fan of Mackey. He's just been a really great contributor to our community since joining here a couple of months ago. I'm a big fan of him. He'll get this game figured out. He'll get his team figured out. And I do think that we'll see the Broncos surge in next season because he'll be finished with school. He really has found that quarterback wide receiver duo, and I think he'll play better. If you look at this game, though, I think there is a secret sauce that you two are not letting the rest of the league in on because both of you are really great rushers of the football, and clearly you've shared that secret sauce with your best friend here because you two are just racking up the rushing yards, whereas teams like me get hit in the backfield every single play. Kamara has blossomed since getting to go over to San Diego, and the guy that I traded for from San Diego has like less than 75 yards all season long for me with about 5 fumbles. So it's just a crazy, crazy way how this game reacts. And, I wish I could figure out what that secret sauce is because you two definitely have it figured out. Let's look at some standings, though. We're going to kind of transition. We are kind of speeding it up a little bit today because I know I'm going to lose my buddy here for a game. So I want to get through as many of these as we possibly can. Let's look at some really close standings. We're in week 15, so just a couple weeks here. Maybe by the time we do our next Press Pass Live, we'll be in week 17 or maybe even into the playoffs. But let's look at the AFC East. Go ahead and give me each of your calls. You got the Miami Dolphins at 7-7, the Jets at 6-7, the Bills at 6-7. Who wins the AFC East? Dwayne.
I think this is tough one. I was looking at this earlier, kind of breaking down what these teams have. I look at the Dolphins and the Jets. Both have a game. They play each other before the end of the season. The Dolphins have the Jets and Pats left. The Jets have the Finns and the Saints left. And like I said, you got the Bills who are you have the Bills who are still, keeping it intact. They have 3 games left, sitting at 6-7. Well, actually, I'd say that the Jets are 7-7, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if this is revamped. But the Bills have Steelers, Colts, and Titans. I think that's too big of a scheduling concern for me for the Bills to pull that out. You have Steelers and Titans still fighting for their playoff lives and trying to stay alive. Mm-hmm. If it's up to me, I think the Dolphins win this head-to-head game against the Jets. I think Kevin is putting it together. I know he's been kind of down on his team lately. But I play the Jets, and the Jets are a solid team. I just think the Dolphins are the more experienced team here. I think that he's kind of getting it together. Like he said earlier, if I'm not mistaken, he won his game earlier, and he seemed like he found a vision to success, and I think he's going to carry that over, and I think he wins this division outright.
Dawson, what do you think about the AFC West here?
The East is kind of what Jason said a couple months ago. Is just a lukewarm division, and you might can even add in the AFC West compared to this. But no one really wants to win over in the East. My original pick was Kevin and his Dolphins, but after seeing the stats based off in the Week 14 against the Titans, he allowed so many rushing yards that that's a big game changer, and that's going to be a big deal to defend going through down the stretch of the last few games. I like what he's doing in Miami, but the injury bug has really hit him, so he's having to refocus and manage his roster around and rely on some backups when he really don't, shouldn't in a normal season. And another thing that we haven't really noticed is Jets. Even though he's 6-7, he's 5-0 in the division. So he's winning his games in the division. He's just losing every other game. Which he was out in the first part of the season, but that could be a lot of he's back back in the grind now, so he has a chance of grabbing division. His remaining schedule is a little bit tougher compared to the Bills and Dolphins, and then the Bills they kind of silently crept up, and they're back in the AFC race or the East race. The Bills Mafia, they're winning 3 in a row so far. But he still has 3 games left, and those 3 games he can lose those 3 and end up being 6-10. But realistically, if you look at the remaining schedules, I feel Dolphins and Bills have a upper hand over the Jets. But because Dolphins are having to face these injuries, these key injuries, I want to go with the Bills. Pulling the upset and grabbing the division.
Oh.
Mainly because I need him to win in Week 17 over the Titans. So I got to root for him until I'm out of the playoffs. So, go Bills.
I think there's definitely some interesting stats. You pointed them out. The Jets 5-0 in the division. You see the Dolphins are really good on the road. They can't win at home. The Buffalo Bills are the opposite. They can win at home, but they can't win on the road. And then the Patriots, right, are going to make this a really interesting division because Maniac is back, and he has the Patriots, which means he has his old Dallas running back again, and the guy can play ball. That's just going to be a really, really tough division. Let's look at the AFC West really quick. It's pretty much a 2-man race. The Oakland Raiders are sitting at 9-5. The Los Angeles Chargers are at 7-6. And yes, Dawson, I'm going to ask you to talk about your team, but we'll go to you second. So let's throw it over to Dwayne. Who do you think wins the AFC West?
Well, I think at this point it's going to be really tough for the Chargers to take the division outright. I think the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken, Dawson, you could correct me. I think he's beat you twice this season. The Raiders have, so he has that tiebreaker, and he's 5-0 in the division.
Who knows what Madden's going to do?
Right. I just think at this point the Raiders have the Broncos and the Giants left, and the Chargers have Broncos, Chiefs, and Cowboys left. I do think that's a favorable schedule. I think the Chargers can end up being 10-6 here, which would mean that they need the Raiders to lose both games on the way out. I just have a hard time, I with the way Glaze is playing, it's a possibility that the Raiders do lose 2 in a row here, and the Chargers do steal that division race. But as much as I love Dawson, I'm gonna have to say the Raiders are gonna get this division outright. I do think the Chargers get a wild card spot, but I think it's just like I said, winning 2 games, a tiebreaker, and just a lot of stuff working hand in hand there to for the Chargers to have to take that division. I think the Raiders will come out with a fire, and I think they win this game this week against Denver to seal it. Because if he goes into Week 17 needing to win against the Giants and a Giants team that is playing really well and playing to keep that NFC East in their favor, I think he could be in trouble. But as of right now, I'm going to have to say the Raiders are going to pull it out. I think the Raiders end the season at 10-6. I think the Chargers actually end the season at 10-6, and
They have the tiebreaker.
They have the tiebreaker, and I think that the Chargers go as a wild card team, and I think the Raiders go as the division champ.
Dawson, how do you see your own division coming out?
I'm going to agree with you on that, or at least part of it. The Raiders, they snuck. They got those 2 wins over me this season. I had my chance to grab that first place in Week 14, but like usual, I just lost it and gave up that last spot or that first spot. Amari Cooper, he's been a thorn on my side the whole cycle.
He'll do
hats
that
off
to
yeah. Hats off to Jay Bowles, of game planning around what his strengths and what are my weaknesses. But I do feel like he's going to win. He might lose maybe 1 of the 2 games. I need him to lose 2 of the last 3 games, or even the Titans to lose. But that's realistically, I doubt that will happen. I feel like the Raiders are going to edge out and claim that division. And then I want to be the one who's packing my bags up instead of making that wild card spot, because Titans, he's rolling right now, and I just don't think that neither one of them is going to lose 2 out of 3 games. Which it can happen, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, we'll see. That should be a fun division to kind of see how it ends. I'm kind of leaning towards you getting that wild card. It sucks that they have the tiebreaker, but hey, you had your opportunities, and I think it'll be a great division, but it may be even wrapped up here in the next couple weeks. Let's go over to the AFC South, which is another really, really tight race. There's going to be a couple of really great teams that are left out of the playoffs, but you got the Houston Texans at 10-3, the Jacksonville Jaguars at 9-4, and the Tennessee Titans quietly at 9-5. Who wins the AFC South? Let's go over to Dawson first from this one.
Yeah, we, as you can see, the Colts, they're already eliminated from the playoffs with a 0-14 record. We can only hope that Jimmy Fish, will make those key roster moves going in the offseason and be ready to compete in the last season. But as of right now, it's a 3-headed horse race. You got Texans, he's been on auto for the last couple of advances, been on vacation, and he's
sucks.
just steadily, I think he went 2-2 in the during his breaks, or maybe even a winning record. Regardless, I think he has the edge, or at least according to Daddy's League, over Jacksonville. But Brady Bunch down in Jacksonville, you never can count out. He's always a tough owner, and can't. He's right behind the Texans, and never can leave him out. He's going to play his game and game plan around his key players. Most likely, I feel whoever wins, I think they're currently trying to play right now. The Texans Jags, I think there were maybe, but anyways, I believe Texans. They're whoever wins that game will claim the division, I feel, and then the winner or the loser will get that 5th wild card spot. And then you got Titans. Like I said, I feel like he's on his roll right now. He's 9-5, and I think he's going to grab that last wild card.
D-Wayne, who wins it?
Like I said, I like a lot of what Dawson just said there. He made a lot of good points, especially like I said, the Texans. He really survived. His computer saved his season. Yeah. He was gone for I think maybe 3 games. Did Dawson 4 games? And his computer gave everybody hell when they played him. That was not an easy win for anybody. But I look at it. This remaining schedule: the Texans have the Jaguars, the Titans, and the Rams. You got two teams right there, and the Jags and Titans are fighting in this division for the thing. And the Rams team, who has shown a lot of fight lately and has improved a lot throughout the season. You look at the Jags; they got the Texans, the Rams, and the Colts. Like I said, you got the Texans and Rams who are playing real well, and you got the Colts. And with all due respect to Jimmy, or they're a magic harp. That's the only attack they got is splash. They can't do nothing else right now. That's a Pokemon insider for any of y'all listening.
No clue.
And then you have
talking
the Titans.
Way over my head.
Titans have Texans and Bills left. We're two solid teams. And like I said, I think that game against the Texans is really going to dictate. Of course, it's going to dictate the Titans' season. If he wins that game, I think he's really setting himself up to compete for that division or a wild card spot. If he loses, that could be the end of his season right there. And I look at, but I just have to go with the guy who I've said from the beginning, who I've always thought really underachieved for what I always thought he would be, and that's Brady in Jacksonville. And just for one reason only is I think that offensively, you know what he's going to do. You just got to stop him, and most people can't. He's averaging 154 yards a game rushing. His defense is always solid. I mean, I know the statistics don't just balance that out right here on Daddy Leagues, but when you play Jacksonville that you're in for a slugfest. This is going to be a good game, and I just think that the Texans' remaining schedule is just too tough for them. I know that they've got the head-to-head so far on Jacksonville, but like I said, they play next. I think Jacksonville wins their last 3 games. I think they end up 12-4. And I think they claim that division. I think that his running game is just too good. I think Brady is as engaged as he's been in a while this season. I know he doesn't talk a whole lot in the chat, but
zero in the chat.
Zero in the chat. Just the way he's played this season, he just plays more engaged. And when Brady's engaged, he's a really scary guy to play. And so I'm going to go to Jacksonville, and that's no disrespect to Texans or Titans. I think the Titans kind of dug themselves a hole because, like I said, the other two teams got 3 games left. He just won earlier. He's got 2 games left. So it's out of his hands. He's got to hope Jacksonville and the Texans fall out for him to get a spot in that one. And like I said, I think it's the Jaguars' division to lose.
Yeah, what I find interesting about the South and the East is if you look at the East defense, they're all about the same, 27, 27, 26, 27 as far as points allowed. And then if you look at the AFC South, their offenses are almost the same, 28, 27, 26 right there for those 3 teams. So some very very close teams. Like they're all very, very close related. The NFC's pretty wrapped up. I mean, the New York Giants basically have the NFC East. The Seattle Seahawks basically have the West already wrapped up. The NFC North has been wrapped up since week 2, and then the NFC South is pretty much wrapped up. But there is one that's kind of close here in the NFC East. 10-3 with the Giants. The Philadelphia Eagles are sitting at 9-5. We talked about the Eagles just a few seconds ago with that game of the week that you guys have brought up. Who wins the NFC East as we come to the home stretch here? Let's go over to D. Wayne for this one.
Well, like I said, you got the Eagles just took a big hit. They just lost to the Redskins, not within the last hour, and that was a big hit.
And
so
that pretty
you got
much sews it up, doesn't it?
It pretty much the Giants have to flail and lose it. It's theirs to lose on the way out. The Eagles have the Cowboys, Bears left. We all know the Cowboys haven't played as good as I think a lot of people thought they would play this year. But the Bears are not a walkover game. Outlaw at what is he 3-9 this season, can play with the best of them on any given day.
Yeah.
And the Skins, like I said, they're on the outside looking in. They're pretty much eliminated in that division, but they do have the Bucks and Falcons left, which is 2 tough games. If you look at the Giants, they have the Cowboys, Falcons, and Raiders left, and you have 2 teams right there that he's playing between the Falcons and Raiders who are still, playoff contenders, quote unquote, and are still playing to win the games. And I think the Cowboys are a game that he probably will win, and I think that sets him at an easy 11 wins. I think the Giants win this division just for the fact that game that he lost to Redskins earlier, it was a crusher to the Eagles. I don't know if he bounces back from that unless Pepper just,
Yeah.
just drops the egg these last 3 games, and I just don't see it. I think that all 3 games he has left are all easily winnable with the way he's playing right now. And I think it's the Giants' division to give away right now. I just think the Eagles lost, like I said earlier, they lost to the Chargers in a close game. They lost earlier to the Redskins in a game that, honestly, as a playoff team, you have no excuse to,
No.
losing games like that at this point in the season because, like I said, they'll come back and bite you. And I think it's going to come back and bite him. He's not going to compete with the Giants for this division.
Before we go over to Dawson, I think what I found funny was his comment. Now that I didn't pick up on it earlier because I've been hit and miss on the chat, but he said he's having a hard time stopping anybody, and for a team that's known about their defense, that's really hard if you can't stop anybody. Dawson, just give your thoughts on the NFC East.
Yeah, I agree with Dakota. Giants, that's pretty much his division right now, especially with that loss today by the Eagles, the loss over with the Redskins. But they split this season, 1-1. So it's not really on that aspect. It's just that as far as me I'm being a little biased here. I'm hoping it kind of stretches out into the week 17, and whoever wins that game, they clinch the division. Because Giants play Raiders, and I need Giants to beat the Raiders.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it kind of stretches out, and it's not a said done after the next advance. Where the Giants clinches and he rests his starters and all that stuff. But yeah, Eagles. I think he took a pretty big hit today after that loss. I still think he has a chance to get getting that last wild card spot. So he's still not out of it. He just need to win his games the rest of the way out. But yeah, I think it's Giants' division this season, and it'd be interesting to see how far he goes, especially with the teams ahead of him.
Yeah, let's. It's going to be some good races, but I think that game tonight kind of sealed the deal there. It's really amazing that usually the NFC is the tight races, and the AFC is pretty much figured out. And here's the other way around this year. It's the AFC is some really tight, good races, and the NFC is pretty much been figured out for a little while now. Let's kind of turn the corner here and look at some stats. Now, we were supposed to do this show on Saturday or Sunday, and we weren't able to get together. And so at the time, Malik McDowell really was the forefront runner in sacks. But here in the last couple of weeks, things have tightened up. You got Khalil Mack at 20, Bud Dupree at 21 for Buffalo, McDowell at 23 for Seattle, and Daniel Hunter, the LSU Tiger, at 24 for Minnesota. So I guess the question I just kind of want to throw out to both of you, and Dawson, we'll go with you first, is does the sack record of 35 fall? Now, we've only got this week and then 2 more weeks after that. Some teams have already played this week. I think maybe Oakland has played, maybe Minnesota has played, so it's really going to limit them. But do you think the sack record of 35 sacks in a season falls this year?
No, I don't. Michael Bennett, he's the current sack holder. He's the sack crown or whatever. But I don't think it's going to. I don't think McDowell is going to break it or anything. Especially he's still got 3 games, and realistically, the way that the D line is played in the OMFL and the way that Madden is this cycle, it could be done. He could average 4 sacks a game and break it like that. But I don't think it's going to be broken this year. And because if you look back, I think when Bennett did break or did get the sack record, it was when we was trying to adjust the coaching adjustments, and we had the aggressive D line, and I think that kind of helped out a lot. Now that we look back on it, yeah, I don't think it's going to be broken this year by anybody.
D-Wayne, what do you think is going to happen to the sack record?
I think it's hard to argue what Dawson said. I think the way it's set up right now, people are still getting a lot of pressure and a lot of sacks. I think guys are getting better at getting rid of the ball and not taking as many sacks. And like I said, you talked about McDowell. He's only had 4 sacks over the last 3 games, which somebody like me would be happy with, or most people. But somebody like Seattle, that's a very underachieving 3 games for him. The only positive he's got going forward is he does have the 49ers coming up pretty quick, who are the 2nd worst team in the league, and giving up sacks. They're giving up over. This is before he just played this game, but he's given up over 62 sacks through week 15 so far, which is ridiculous. But he does have the Packers, and we know that Priest does like to hang in the pocket. His stats don't really back that up, being only 15th in the league and giving up 37 sacks so far this season. But we know Priest does like to sit in the pocket and throw it down the field, which in a count, you give up a lot of sacks. I don't think he gets broken. I think you do have a tight race with a couple of guys with Hunter, and Hunter's had some explosive games this season. McDowell, Dupree, Mack, but I just don't see it getting broken this year. I think guys are keying in a lot better on some of these linemen and are getting rid of the ball faster. And I don't see it happening this season. I think 34 was a ridiculous, really high number, and I think everybody can agree with that. And I just don't see it being broken anytime soon.
Well, let's stay right there. Of course, we've got a couple of guys that are going after it, but I agree with you guys. I think there's just not enough time. Unless something crazy happens, both of you have played me. Both of you, I think, had a game where you had 7 sacks with one player. And so, look, crazy things can happen in this crazy game. So let's keep it here as we talk about sport or stats. Now, we've got Malik Simpson for Tennessee with 1,255 yards. Franklin, who just had a monster game, 1,199. Cook with 1,177. Gordon with 1,145. And then Fournette with 1,076. In the rushing department, if you look at the receivers, you got Nixon, who we just talked about, is probably going to win Rookie of the Year, 2,166. Datko with 1,800. Austin with 1,495. Gales with 1,482. And Serwin-Wega at 1,446. The question that I'd like to present to both of you, and Dawson, we'll start with you first, is what is more plausible, a 1,500-yard running back or 2,000-yard receivers?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 2,000-yard receivers, mainly because we already got one. He just looks like he had a big game in Week 15. And with Nixon, he's always been, I guess he was explosive all season long. But I do believe Datko, the way he's played, he will go over the 2,000 receiving yards. I think Seahawks still got to play their last 3 games, so that's basically the average. Less than 70 yards a game. And so I think he can really do that, just the way looking at his previous games this whole season. If you look at the current leader, which is Malik Simpson, as far as running, he's got less than 250 yards to go to reach the 1,500-yard mark. But he already played his Week 15 game, so he has 2 more games to get to that mark. I don't think he will make it. I could be wrong because he had an explosive game the last couple of weeks, especially with the Dolphins. I think he had like almost 250 yards running. My guy Franklin, he had a really bad game in Week 14 in the Raiders.
You haven't played Week 15, right?
No, I haven't. No, I still got 3 more games, so I guess I got a chance. I want to try, I guess you can say, but if I don't make it, I don't make it. But Dalvin Cook. For the Dallas, I believe Massimo said he's going on vacation, so that leaves where the computer plays it. And with Dak Prescott out, I believe he was on the IR when I've seen on the game recently, last advance.
I think
so. You never know what's going to happen with the computer. He can run for 200 yards, or he can run for 20 yards. You never know how that computer will react. So I do think I guess you can see Gordon. He has 2 games left. And he's right there at 1,145 yards. Then Fournette, he's got a little ways to go.
Yeah, there's no way.
Saying all that, I don't think he will make it, especially with those 3 games left. But saying all that in turn, I think there would be 2 2,000-yard receivers, then other than just one 1,500-yard runner.
T. Wayne, what do you think is more plausible?
Well, I think it's easy to say the 2 2,000-yard receivers, which is ridiculous to say. That's easy for 2 2,000-yard receivers. Which on a low account that I looked up is Nixon's going to break the all-time receiving record in our league this year. He is 18 yards behind with 2 games left.
I think that's probably going to happen.
Knock on wood. I don't wish that upon Glaze. Unless he gets hurt or something like that, he's going to be our new all-time receiver as a rookie.
You can't even say it now. If he gets hurt, you know whose fault it is.
I feel so bad, Glaze.
And the bad juju on him.
But going to the running backs, like I said, the receiving core, honestly, you got 2 guys that are going to get it. Datko will. I think he's got 3 games left. He will get 2,000 yards. You got Simpson with 2 games left who has a chance. Franklin has a really good chance to get 1,500 yards. I would not put that past him to get 300 yards over these last 3 games, right, Dawson?
Fingers crossed.
Cook, if Massimo's playing, Cook can do it because win or lose, Cook's going to get 15 to 20 carries a game. No matter what, he's going to get the touches. Gordon was hurt with this one, and Jacksonville's running back.
I love how you two are talking about running backs that have absolutely no chance to get to 2,000 yards. There's no way Fournette, Gordon, or Cook even have a chance. Like there maybe Cook, but with Massimo leaving, those three are out of it. There's no way.
Well, right with Massimo here, Cook has a shot to get to that 1,500 yard mark. Gordon, like I said, since he just played his game and he did have a solid game, he had 115 yards, but he was so far behind that pedestal already. Yeah. And just to touch on Fournette, I always say that about Jacksonville, who I base my offense off of. And he does run with Fournette more than he did, but Fournette only gets, if I'm not mistaken, about 12 to 13 carries a game. But just because he runs that 3 running back system, he'll never have a running back who has a ridiculous amount of yards. He's just like me. We run about a 50-50 running backfield. So it's really a 3-man race, and with Massimo being on, it's a 2-man race. Realistically, I think Franklin's the only guy who has a chance with how hot he's been running. I just think he's your one man who can get 1,500 yards. But the 2,000-yard receivers, to me, knock on wood, are a given. That's where I'm going to go with that, Nate.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go out of the box and break my own question here. And I'm not going to go as deep as both of you, but I think both happen. I think we have 2 2,000-yard running back, or 2 2,000-yard receivers, and 2 1,500-yard running backs. I think both Simpson and Franklin break that 1,500-yard mark. I think it's very close and very doable. And look, Daco doesn't need a whole lot to get to 2,000. So yeah, I think that both of those are going to happen, and it's really going to make us have to look, and we'll talk about that right at the end. But let's get to our last little segment here before I kind of go on some rants that I have to go on real quick. I don't know why this needs to reload. Let's look at our owner submitted questions. I have not got to see these. It's been a crazy day with work and everything else, and this had crashed. So let me go ahead and don't do that. That's not what I want you to do. Let's take a look here. There we go. All right, let's get to some owner-submitted questions. Now, we're going to start with Calm Like a Bomb. He said, do we see RPO, run play action, in Madden 19? Also, are you happy with your NFL team's draft this far? Now, this was kind of submitted while we were having the draft. We didn't get to this. So let's go ahead and start with you, Dwayne. Do you think we see a run play action in Madden 19? And if I remember correctly, I think you're both Dallas Cowboy fans, so maybe you both can talk about your draft for your Dallas Cowboys. Oh, you're not a Dallas. Dawson's not a Dallas
Packers fan.
A what? Oh, Packers fan. That's right. I forgot. How can 2 best friends have 2 completely different teams? That shouldn't be a thing. But Dwayne, let's go with you. What do you think happens with run play action, and how's the Dallas Cowboys draft?
Well, I can touch on the Cowboys draft. If you could elaborate on that first question a little more, it kind of went over my head. I'm not 100% sure what he's asking.
So he's asking about run play action that you've seen from the Philadelphia Eagles. You see it kind of becoming more and more of a thing where the quarterback can decide if he is going to hand the ball off. So they play that shotgun offense. If he's going to hand that ball off, or he's going to pull the ball back and throw it. So he has 2 options. So he has a run play set up, but he also has some routes from his receivers. And he can decide when he puts the ball in the belly of the running back if he's going to pull it like Foles did and then throw it down the field, or if he's going to go ahead and keep it in the belly and let the running back take it. So a lot of people think that, like Madden does, right, they love their gimmicks, that run or RPOs are going to become a really big thing. I have my thoughts, but I'll save them. Do you think that might be something that we see become overpowered in Madden 19? And then you can talk about your Dallas Cowboys.
Well, I don't think it'll be overpowered. That's just in my opinion. I think it's because I think it takes a lot of skill to do it. And, I watch you, Nate, and I play you twice a season. You're really good to run that, it's really more of a read option what you run, if I'm not mistaken. But you run it really well. And I have a few plays where I try to run it. And to me, it's a home run or a strikeout, in my opinion. Because, I've did it before where I didn't pitch at the right time and my quarterback gets drilled. And I've did it where I pitched it one time and the ball goes 20 yards downfield. I don't think it'll be overused per se, because I think it's going to be for very specific people. Because some guys just aren't going to do it. It is going to take some learning. It's going to take some practice to get that timing down. But I think if used right, it will be a very effective offense. But I don't want to hear guys complain about their quarterbacks getting hurt when y'all run that kind of offense. Because I've had it happen. I like to run that, and your quarterbacks, I can speak for Kaiser, if I'm not mistaken, a season or two ago. I like to run that read option, and Kaiser got hurt because of it. And I've really had to rethink that play in type.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be overpowered, but I do think it'll be, instituted a lot more. I think you'll see a lot more of it, a lot more plays using it. But going to Cowboys, I was really excited with my Cowboys picks this year. I think they to me didn't hit, I wouldn't say home runs anywhere. They just picked up real solid guys. I really liked the linebacker they picked in the first round. I really loved the offensive tackle Williams they got in the second round. And I think they picked a lot of guys who can come in and help from day one. I really wasn't a fan of them trading Ryan Switzer. I really expressed that in the chat 4 or 5 times. I was a big Ryan Switzer fan. I think only used him for a year, and you used him in a very minor role last year. I don't think we really got to see what he did last year. And so, Oakland, I'll probably be calling you the first day of Madden 19 to try to get Switzer. But I really enjoyed, and I really was excited at what the Cowboys did in draft this year.
Dawson, what do you think about run play action in your Packers?
Yeah, I guess I think it's going to be interesting to see how they input it in the game because, like you said, Madden is always going to try to find the newest, hottest thing to add. And in my opinion, it's going to be kind of like that monster bunch formation where it's going to be either too cheesy or it's just going to fall into just the option. And we all know how options are. They look nice and once they are effective, but a lot of times you don't want to get your quarterback hit a lot in the NFL.
Right.
And the quarterback can go down, injure, and then you can just mispitch it, and it can go to the other touchdown for the defense. So I think it's going to be a hit and miss. But it's going to be interesting how they input it. But I guess in the end, it's just going to be another play, and we just have to manage it and see how it plays out. But back to the Packers. I really like how they did that first day. I know you have a lot of I guess you comment about it, but they picked up the first round from the Saints for next year. And they end up getting 2 solid defensive backs, in my opinion. The first 2 picks, they got Jair Alexander, which I haven't really, I guess, watched him very much, but they say he's really he's short, but he can always sit there and he's got that speed and he can be competitive. Then you got Josh Jackson, which I think a lot of mock drafts had him in the first round, and Packers was able to pick him up in the second round. Later on in the drafts, they ended up picking a few receivers, few outside a linebacker, and even a defensive end. But I think just more or less needs and reaching picks and see if they can get the next Jordy Nelson. But in the end, I'm happy with it, and it's going to be interesting to see how they play it out, going into the fall.
Yeah, real quick about run play action, I think it will be overpowered. I don't think it'll be a problem here because I assume it will be like a pistol shotgun formation, like you don't do run play action or run pass option out of I-farm or strong or anything like that. That's a shotgun, maybe a pistol type formation. So because of that, we already kind of limit those plays. So yeah, I think it'll be something we have to watch. It will be overpowered because Madden always overpowers those kind of gimmicks because they want people to use them, then they dial them back after an update, and then people like me just moan and complain all season about cover 2 zone being overpowered. But that's a different rant for another day. New Orleans Saints overall, who cares what my thoughts are, but I think Davenport was a really big pickup. This is a roster that's ready to make a Super Bowl run. So, yeah, they did give away some future opportunities to the Packers. It was a high price, but I love the receiver that they picked up, and I think they picked up some fun little projects that would be interesting to see kind of how they work out. Anthony Tanner, Canes fan, who's actually waiting on me to play our game, so I'm going to save his second question. So his second question is, what do you feel is the best way to catch your opponent when faced with a 2 or 3 touchdown deficit early in a game. Throw your gameplay out of the window or stick with it. We're going to save that one. I think that's a really great question. We will use it on our very next show, so we'll mark that as saved for the next show. But his other question was, who is in your opinion, is the surprise team this season? Dawson, we'll go throw it over to you. Who's your surprise team this season?
Well, there's a few that I have on AFC. I would have to say, I guess the Texans really, because with them switching owners, he's got a 10-3 record right now. He, like I said, we already talked before. He was on vacation and whatnot, but it's very interesting how he was able to play. I think I played him early in the season, and that defense was just crazy. And we all know Massimo. He built a good team, but I think in the offseason is really going to tell how they're going to manage the Texans team going further, because there's a lot of re-signs, a lot of star players that's aging, so you never know. But I guess it would be worth it if he's able to get that trophy. Over the NFC side, I'll probably go with the Giants, just because last year we had Maniac and the Cowboys. He kind of, I think, took that division pretty much the last couple of seasons, and now we got Giants, or Pepper and the Giants. He kind of he's I guess one game away from clinching the division, but he's always been consistent every season. I know he likes to say that there was that one season when he won 11 games and didn't make the playoffs, but hey, Pepper, you're going to make the playoffs this season, so congrats on that. But yeah, those are my two, I guess, most surprising teams so far.
D-Wayne, surprise team?
Well, if you want to go to the NFC right off the bat, just a team that gets to me, and it's not I guess you wouldn't say it's a popular, to be the flashiest choice would be the Cardinals. I think the Arizona Cardinals have been a really good team this year. The 7-6 record doesn't speak to how well they have played. They've played some of these top teams within a touchdown all season long. They've been a team that you have to go in and game plan and be prepared to go to war with. I think they're a team that, in my opinion, in the division, they're 3-1 their division this year. I think he, with time, could battle with the 49ers and could possibly dethrone Seattle in that division. I think he's that good. I think he's built a team that's really solid, and I'm really excited to see what he does with that team. If I had to go with one disappointing team in NFC, I know I say surprise disappointment would be the Panthers. The Panthers really hurt my feelings this year. I thought this would be the year they took the South, or at least got right there, because, man, he's played so solid. And he just didn't seem like he was engaged this year, and I think his record kind of showed it. That's no disrespect to Colin. That just shows I expect a lot out of Colin and the Panthers. Well, the whole South in general, but especially Colin. If you go over the AFC, a team that I guess surprised me, that I thought would be a playoff team this year, would be the Browns. They kind of disappointed me, because I thought Chaotix would be a wild card team. I didn't quite think he would take the Bengals over the North this year, but thought he'd be a wild card team, and he did hang in there in a lot of games. But I just keep waiting for Chaotix to go make that next jump over the hill and become a playoff team, and he hasn't quite reached it yet. He's got a lot of talent on that team. I know he's still trying to figure out the offensive side of the ball, but that's my biggest surprise, kind of a letdown this season. If I had to pick a team that surprised me this season, and would be the Buffalo Bills. I think they're a team that I think he came in, middle to the beginning, end of the fourth, fifth week. If I'm not mistaken, I can't remember the exact date he came back into the league, but he's really turned the Bills around. He's a guy who really, what did you say, Buffalo, the Bills Mafia earlier. He really prides himself with Buffalo. He's really proud to have that team. And I think in that division, it's a division that's really up in the air right now. And he fought back, like I say, he's on a 3-game winning streak and put himself in position to win that division. He's really proud of his team. He really takes pride in his team. He's a very, in my opinion, he's a very good member to this community. He's always talking, always welcoming. And I think he's a team that you got to look out for, because I think he overachieved what most people thought he would do this year.
Nope, I can't argue with any of that. I think the Bills were a big surprise. I think the Packers for a long time were a surprise for me. I think that moving forward, I think there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to kind of pick up. So we can go to that second question, or the last question that actually comes from you, Dwayne. So we'll actually go for Dawson, and then I'll throw in my thoughts, and Dwayne, you can wrap us up since it's your question. We'll kind of combine these two questions into one. He asked, do we see another
Right.
team, or do we see another Cincinnati Seattle Super Bowl, or do we think a contender will knock that off? And he was also asking, do we think that the gap between those two top teams and the rest of the league has closed, or has it widened? So, Dawson, what do you kind of think about those two things? Do we see another repeat Super Bowl, and do you think that that gap has widened, or has it been closed a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the same Super Bowl until I guess I'm convinced otherwise once we get into the playoffs. I know Bengals, he kind of struggled a little bit against the Vikings last night in Week 15. Seahawks, he's got 2 losses in his this season so far. I think it kind of, I guess it kind of got a little bit closer, but just the way those guys play and the way they have their roster set up. It's going to be tough for them to get beaten in the playoffs. I haven't really done my research, so I'll just make it quick. I don't think the Bengals, or I do think the Bengals and the Seahawks will make it to the Super Bowl, and it would be another, I guess, what it would be round 3 against them
Right.
and them two.
Yeah, it's hard to say that it won't be a repeat, but I never count Dwayne out. I just don't. I think that, I just think that his running game is stupid, and I can't figure it out. And he's got a cheat code that I can't find on the internet anywhere. And that run game can show up and completely take over a game. And, look, Seattle's loaded. He's definitely been ticking, but if any season so far since he's been on this run has he shown weakness, it would be this one. This is where he's shown the most weakness. But with that said, he's probably got the most weapons on both sides of the ball. I'd also have to say the same thing about you, Dawson, the AFC. Is it enough to beat the Bengals? Look, more things have shocked me before, right? I think the Bengals lost a game this year that no one was expecting him to lose. Look, the Minnesota Vikings have been on a hell of a run all season. But you could show up with that 275-yard rushing game and just completely take the ball out of his hands, cause him to throw a couple turnovers, and then before we know it, we have a Falcons-Chargers Super Bowl. Like, it could happen. So the easy thing would be to say, yeah, it's going to be a repeat. But to go to the second part of the question, has that gap widened or closed? I think it's closed. I think the AFC proves it this year that gap has closed a little bit. In the NFC, it's kind of gotten out of hand. A lot of the really good teams have had bad seasons, and those races have been over pretty quickly. But when you look at the AFC, you can clearly tell that gap is closed. Yes, both the Bengals and the Seahawks both have super talented teams. They're super loaded. There's a lot of weapons there that I think that gap is closed and shrunk. And we're going to try to shrink it even more with my last little thoughts that I'll share. But Dwayne, even though it was your thought, what was your thoughts going behind this? Clearly, you see a repeat Super Bowl, but do you think that gap is closed, or has it gotten bigger?
Well, I do think that it would be hard if I was a betting man. I would have to bet on being repeat Super Bowl, except for the fact I think Minnesota is your NFC favorite now. I think Seattle has shown a lot of weaknesses this year. Oh, I say a lot. Weaknesses for Seattle.
Yeah.
I think they've shown that they're human. And I think Minnesota, between he beat Seattle this year and he just demolished Cincinnati. I have a hard time telling you that Minnesota isn't the team to beat in NFC. The AFC, I think the gap has changed. I know Cincinnati is 13-1 this season, but if you look, he's 34 points for, 27 points against. He's not blowing people out of the water this season. He's had a lot of close games. A lot of people aren't scared to play Cincinnati, and that's no disrespect to Cincy. People just aren't scared. They go in and they give 110%, and they play him hard the whole game. They don't go in there and lay down like I've seen them do in the past couple seasons. But in the last question, I think the whole league in general is closing the gap. Like I said, I think Seattle has shown that they're human. Cincinnati has shown that their vaunted offense can be matched and can be stopped. I think that the league in general is getting better. I know we still have some teams that are on the lower end, but you look at like somebody like the Ravens who are 2-11. He's way better than his record says. He came in, he's won some tough games. He almost beat Cincinnati a couple weeks ago. He lost by a touchdown. You look at the Patriots at 3-10. We know that they're not going to be 3-10 next year with Maniac at the helm. You look at the Broncos, they're a team that 4-10. They're getting better and better. I just think the league as a whole is getting better, and I think that gap, and that's nothing to take away from Cincinnati and Seattle or even Minnesota for that fact. I think the league is just getting better as a whole. I think, especially some of these new guys, they haven't came in and disappeared. They haven't came in and had a bad season and disappeared. They've came in and took those teams with pride and have really taken them to another level. And I like seeing the growth we've had in the league.
Yep. So it's been a really, really great show. Now we're way behind time here. I know you got to get off to a game. I got to get off to a game. So we can dig at what I'm about to say a little bit deeper. But I did want to finally just get this announced and get it out there. I'll be completely transparent. I had to apologize to the board the other day. I've been really put out with this Madden. Just being blunt and honest, top 3 worst Madden that I've ever played. I despise the game. I despise firing it up, and I got to fire it up here in a second. I'd rather get a colonoscopy again. There's nothing about the game that I enjoy. I can't figure it out. It's not consistent. It doesn't play the way it should play. I've got way more questions than I do have answers, and I know that saying that guys like both of you have had completely different experiences, right? Like the game doesn't play the way it plays for me that it does for you, and I think they tried too hard, and whatever. I'm not here to the game is what it is, and we're trying to make the best of it, which brings me to my second point, or 2 quick points. Cover 2 zone is still grossly abused. We've warned, we've asked, we've done all these things. Guys just abuse it. It is what it is. The other thing that I know Dwayne and I both agree on, it might be one of the only things we agree on in this game, is guys have learned the new little trick, and that is you're playing 8 in the box, 1 safety high, and you're blitzing out of it, you're zone blitzing out of it, you're controlling the D line out of it, you're getting into the sheds, and you're playing zone, and I'm seeing 85% of the game 1 safety high. I played a game recently. 85% of the game was 1 safety high. I could go on a complete rant. That is not the point of our league. The point of our league is not to do one thing and because it works, continue to do it. And I don't want to hear you say, "Well, learn how to beat it," or "run plays to beat it," or "it's beatable." That's not the discussion. The discussion is that you continue to do one thing over and over and over and over and over. Which means if I'm going to beat it, I got to do one thing over and over and over and over. That's not fun. That's not why we have the OMFL. That's not why we have fair play rules. The point is to mix it up. So I'm asking nicely, back off the 1 safety high. A couple of teams I've seen run 1 safety high, which is including my buddy Dwayne, right? You run a lot of 1 safety high. He will manually move his safeties around. I think it's I could be totally wrong, but it's like L1 R2 or L2 R1, or it's like one of those combinations where you can base a line, and your safety who's in the box will back up and play his normal safety position. You got to do what you got to do, but you got to mix it up. And if you find yourself calling a lot of plays that are putting 8 in the box, then you got to do the base of line, or you got to call other plays. Like it's just not confusing. I'm sick of seeing 75, 85, 95. Like I remember one game, there was like 3 plays that were not 8 in the box. Like I'm sick of it. Change your gameplay. A lot of you should have bad FPR, and I hope that you have bad FPR so that you get that we're not just making this up out of thin air. That guys are grading you badly. So change up your gameplay. Which brings me to my last point, which is we have a test franchise because we have 1 more season left. So everybody's been asking how many seasons. I did the math. We basically have 1 more season left. So after this season, we'll do the draft. We'll play 1 full season, and we will end. We will not do a next draft. This next draft coming up will be our last draft. We will not do another draft after that. When this season's over, we will then start working on retired Hall of Fame players. We'll start working on players that you want to bring over, all that fun stuff that we got to do, which is a lot of work to kind of get ready for Madden 19. So with this being the last season, I have made kind of the executive call after talking to the board. We are going all Madden. There's 1 more season left. I think all Madden, the run blocking plays better. The game plays a little bit quicker. You have better animations. The game's just more fluid. It just feels like it works. It feels like it responds. We have to figure out sliders. There's a lot to figure out there. And there is a little bit of a trade-off. Like lower-rated players if they have speed or strength, like they do play a little bit higher than they do in all pro. Like that's the trade-off. Like lower rated guys do play a little bit better and they are elevated. Insta shed is still a thing, but Insta shed is a thing right now. I'm this close, guys, from banning user defensive line, and I'll tell you why I haven't done it, and that's because Chaotic gets on my butt about it. He doesn't even like the fact that I bring up banning defensive line user, and I don't want to do it, but like it's just out of control. I mean, I gotta be honest. 3 games, I know that I've given up 20 sacks. One of which was like a 12-sack game where the guy user D-lined me all game. Like it's just not like I don't even know how it's fun for you. How can it be fun to press 2 buttons and sack a quarterback? Like there's no strategy. Are you that into winning that 2 buttons is fun to you? Because it's not fun for no one else. So I'm really close to banning that because it's just I'm forcing you to go mix it up. Go learn how to play linebacker. Go learn how to play safety. Make mistakes like the rest of us. It's okay. Like grow your skills as a Madden user and not just D-line. And yes, I'm gonna say like how I feel. I think you're lame when you call an all-out blitz or a cover 2. Like the thing I see the most is a 3rd down, cover 2, user the defensive end, sack the quarterback. It just drives me insane when you know it's coming and you're trying your very best and you do all the adjustments that we have access to and nothing works. So we're going all Madden for the last season. Next season is our last season. There is a test franchise up as we work on sliders. We've used Madden Ballers Club's base to kind of start off with. I encourage you to go try it out. It's not a dramatically different game. It's not going to feel completely different, but I think that it's going to give us some little tweaks that will even that playing field and close that gap a little bit. And who knows? I could be completely wrong, and the last season sucks. It's the last season. It's okay. To me, it's worth a try because right now there's like 4 teams that win, and the rest of us don't even come close. So we need to try to close that gap a little bit. Those are my thoughts. I want to give you both an opportunity to respond to any of that. We can dig deeper in the next podcast. We're way over time. So I'll give you a chance, then we'll wrap this show up.
You want to go ahead, Dawson?
Like I said, we can dig deeper. We can have another discussion a little bit longer. We're first wrapping up the podcast. I do think the All Madden, I guess it's worth a try. Like you said, it's the last season, so what's the worst it can happen? If we have the same team to win, then that's what we've been doing the last cycle. So we just need, like you said, just close the gap a little bit. And I guess hopefully, I know we're going into the summer, and I know everybody's got vacations, and it's sunny. And everybody wants to go outside and sunbathe. We just have to be more active and communicate with our owners or with our opponent, and just give them a heads up if you can't play and stuff like that. I mean, don't let the enforcer Bill get on to you. You don't want to crack that. You don't want to
get you.
So just get ready for a new Madden. I mean, because we know we got a lot of things coming up in the summer. And we get to see a lot of new videos, new replay, and it's probably going to be the same stuff that Madden likes to eat and give out to us. But in all, it's something new, and we just have to, be prepared and make those adjustments and check those sliders out and go from there.
I think Dawson covered a lot of it there. I think when Nate, you were talking about these guys putting 8 guys in the box, I understand some of the plays, like you said, some of them automatically sets you up for that. Mm-hmm. But running everything out of 8 guys in the box, 1 safety high, and running zone over and over again, like Nate said, and anything in general excessively used is not FPR for one. It's just not fun. Now I know that cover 1 man does the same thing. In my opinion, cover 1 man is a little easier to beat than once again in excessive. You're not supposed to use it excessively. Nothing in this league should be used excessively. But cover 1 man doesn't drop 8 guys or 8 guys in coverage, drop things, so you can't run, you can't pass, you're just kind of no man land. But nothing should be used excessively.
And if you run cover 1 where it sticks that 8 man in the box, I could have swore I've seen you do it. Maybe you can base a line and that safety will back up.
Right? Yeah, you can base a line.
Is just don't put 8 in the box all game.
Right. And I think a lot of it is I mean, I know guys want to stop the run, but I will say this: put 8 guys in the box. If that guy breaks that first line, he's gone. So it does bite guys that put 8 guys in the box. And I think that what you were talking about, Nate, about user defensive line is, and me and Dawson have really tried hard. Nate, your last game I played against you, I didn't use your defensive
You've
line.
done it. Like, I've seen you do it. You were a great user defensive line, and you went from never playing linebacker to playing a very, very good linebacker.
I'm trying. It sucks. It sucked when we and Dawson. We both talked about it. It sucks when you first make that jump. It is something me and Dawson played offline. We practiced. We had to practice because to get as good as somebody like Nate or Maniac or Sense or Meathead or Tanner, they're all really good with their user linebackers. It's something you got to practice. It's not something I know Priest. We've had discussion with him about. He just said, man, it sucks. It's hard, and it is. It's something you can't just go in the game and practice mid game. You got to practice it away. And it's just something, and the kind of like you said, Nate, we've tried to get guys at least to start doing maybe, I don't know, lessen the user defensive end. But if you go back to user defensive end every third down and long, you're still abusing that user defensive line. But like Nate said, all you can ask, guys, you just got to practice. It's something, I will say this, the user linebacker used correctly, in my opinion, I like it better.
Killer.
To me. You kind of control more. I've learned to shoot the gap with linebacker in inside the play art. You learn how to shoot the gap or play coverage, and I think it'll open you up to a lot more. It's just a lot more fun. It is more fun on defense to control linebacker than his defensive end. Like Nate said, defensive end, you only have so much you can do. You smash the buttons a few times, and you're probably going to be in the backfield 90% of the time.
I played the test game against Calm in the test franchise, which is all Madden, which still has instant shed. He had like 7 sacks in the first half. I was like, "How's this fun?" He's like, "Well, I pressed the button twice, and he's getting to the quarterback." I just don't understand how that's fun for guys.
Well, in my response to Calm would be on that one is, man, you just like me and Dawson, when we first started, moving guys over, we just started 50-50. We tried to 50 it up, and we just slowly started using the linebacker more and more as a game. And like you said, Nate, you're going to mess up. You're going to have 5 or 6 plays a game where you think you're in position to make interception, you're just not going to make it. Yeah. It's just growing pains. It's growing pains. It's going to happen. But I would recommend guys start using that linebacker. Some of the best guys in our league, if you look at Cincy and Seattle and even Minnesota with Bill, they can use their every position. And I think it pays off in the long run to you be a better team if you can do other positions. But like Dawson said, I think as we get this, as we go farther into the summer, guys, I think we need to stay engaged. And like I said, I know there's more to do outside and there's more stuff to do. It's not hard to get in the chat and say a few things throughout the day. It's not hard to get in there, schedule your games. Don't become disengaged. And you got to look at this as still more of it's still community over yourself. We're here as a group of friends and a group of guys hanging out and enjoying this. And even though I know, and Nate will say this, it's not always enjoyable. But you still got to look at the greater good. This is still a good group of guys. And I do like I said earlier, we have a couple guys that came in this last season, and I hope they keep that same excitement throughout this cycle and carry it over to Madden 19.
Yeah, and I'll just say this in closing as we kind of put final touches. One of the things the board asked me to implement, it may have been one of you two, I forget exactly whose idea it was, but ask that during streaming of your game, after it, leave your stream going, go back and show your user settings. I just want to point out, since we've done that, number one, we found like at least 3 or 4 or 5 teams that had their settings still on. And number two, interceptions are way down. And because now it's all user skill, and they are. Like, we don't have a linebacker with 20 interceptions like we've had, or 17, whatever that stupid number that Ducks threw up that one year. So it's working, and I think we're going to keep it. Like, it is an extra, 2 minutes worth of work that we ask, but it holds everybody accountable, and if you've messed up, you can see that you've messed up and you can fix it. So we're going to probably keep that as a thing, and I'll probably add that to the rules as new people join here, that they know as you stream your games, go ahead and go over to your user settings and show that it's gone. So that's it. We're going to put a bow on the show. Tanner, if you're watching, I'm coming. I know, D-Wayne, you're late for a game, so I thank you guys so much. This was my fault. We couldn't hook up on the weekend. We just had a hard time figuring out our schedules. I didn't want Dawson to miss another one, and truth, just being completely transparent, I have 2 teenagers and a wife, and I had to talk about
Right.
grades and schools ending and tests and what was supposed to start at 8 o'clock didn't start till 8:45 because that conversation took a little bit longer. So my bad, but thank you both for sacrificing and being here. Um, you two are two of the best guys that we have here, and you're just um, a piece of a very large group of really amazing people that help us do this community, and I appreciate all of you a ton. So for Dawson, for Dwayne, thanks so much for checking us out tonight. Make sure you check out our website, grownfolksoc.com. If you're just checking us out and you'd like to join one of our leagues, we have everything from Fortnite to Rocket League to Golf Club 2 to FIFA to NASCAR to Madden to WWE. I mean, we've got all kinds of stuff. Hit the join us now. Send in your application. Check us out on Twitter, Grown Folks OC, YouTube, Grown Folks Online Community, and then finally Twitch, Grown Folks OC. You can also check out the videos that we do for Daddy Leagues at daddyleagues.com. We're also a big supporter of leaguecrawler.com, so make sure you check out both of those websites and give them a follow. Hey, until we get together next time, which I'm hoping will be this weekend. I got a pretty light weekend with a little extra time. So no service this weekend, which means I got a little bit of free time on Sunday. Hopefully all 3 of us will be able to find some time this weekend, and we'll spit out another Press Pass Live before the playoffs get here. So thank you guys both so much for joining us. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Later, guys.
Catch y'all later.